worse than the total agony of being in love?
No, you're right. Yeah, total agony.
Comets come from deep space out beyond the last of the planets, way out there. And they tend to come screaming into the solar system at a high rate of speed, but they're a little hard to predict because they sit out there, they're cold, they're dark, and then they come in at a high rate of speed. So you're not going to get a lot of warning for one of those in general.
Iceberg, right ahead!
You can never beat the house forever, right? In some sense, we're playing a giant game of cosmic roulette, and eventually you're going to lose. So the real question is not can we stop an asteroid from hitting us. The question is, actually, we know we can. The question is, do we have the will to stop one?
The word comet is spelled out in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Comet refers to a cleaning product brand, which is interesting as a comet in a way could be seen as a cleaning of the Earth. The word comet is stressed by a knife. Also interesting is that the knife virtually cuts the word comet. Now, Roy's sculpture resembles a comet. Roy cuts this comet into two parts. This resembles the knife cutting the word comet. Roy cutting the comet results into two separate comets of different size, a large and a small comet. These two comets of different size also are presented in this shot. We see two comets in the sky, a large and a small comet. In Titanic, the two comets are presented as two searchlights, a large and a small one. It's also interesting that in Close Encounters, Roy's comet is associated with the Earth being blown up. There's a mark on the Earth, as if the Earth is going to be hit at a very specific area, which we also can see in this shot, as two fingers or two comets move to a very specific area on a globe. The joke of Close Encounters is that its subject always is implied or suggested. So Roy realizes that the UFOs actually are helicopters. But this is not the whole story. It's all about the realization that things are not what they seem. Roy realizing that the UFOs actually are helicopters in itself is an implication. It's a wink to the audience that it is about the realization itself. The helicopters are being presented in a very terrifying way. This is the movie whispering that the helicopters imply something else, and it's for the audience to realize what this something else is. So Roy is saying, it's meant to be heard like we say, wait a minute, to ourselves. In this way, the movie whispers to its audience that the helicopters actually are comets coming from the sky. The two comets also are present in Home Alone. We see Kevin throwing two cans towards Harry and Marv. The two cans suggest the two comets coming from the sky. Also, Harry and Marv are two burglars coming from a deep and dark area. In this way, Harry and Marv represent the two comets which come from a deep and dark area. It's quite obvious that Harry represents a comet, as Harry flies like a comet into a pile of snow. Just like a comet is a pile of ice. We see both Harry and Marv flying through the sky, hitting the house and then hitting the snow. Harry and Marv are two icy comets hitting the house, our house, the Earth, after they fly through the sky. On Harry's cap there's two white feathers, which suggest the two icy comets. Also, the reflections on the car door handles suggest the two comets. They move in the opposite direction than Harry and Marv, possibly suggesting the two comets returning to deep space. The two comets are also present in Titanic. Rose and Jack are presented as two icy faces. And here on the icy face we see again the two comets as reflections in each of the eyes. Interestingly, the point of view at this moment is the iceberg, or the comet. Comet comes from Greek kometes, meaning long-haired. Of course, a comet is known for its long tail of hair, so to speak. Take Comet to America, for example, or Comet to America. Comet to America's protagonist is Prince Akeem, who has long hair. Akeem is like the comet with its long tail. Watch how Akeem is associated with the knot in the rope, which represent the comet's core and tail. Also in Titanic, the bell clapper consists out of a core and a tail, and it's the bell clapper that warns that the ship is approaching an iceberg or a comet. Right after this shot of Akeem, we see fireworks, implying the comet coming from the sky. Then we move down, like a comet falling from the sky, to see again a figure, which suggests a comet. In the end, Prince Akeem, the little comet, meets the large comet, which is his soon-to-be wife. The long wedding veil suggests the comet's long tail. Also, notice the two comets at the right side of the screen. In The Big Lebowski, the dude with its long hair is the comet. Not only the dude's hair refers to the comet's tail, but also his white suit. Here we see him flying through space, and here he's flying through the sky to eventually fall down from the sky, like a comet. Asteroid comes from Greek asteroides, meaning star-like. Also interesting is that an asteroid in the movies is referred to as rock. So the bowling balls are the asteroids, as Donnie says.
I'm throwing rocks tonight.
Also, the bowling balls are associated with star-like figures, or asteroids. Just as the star-like figure's hair, just before Walter bites off an ear and spits it into the sky, to make it appear as an asteroid falling down from the sky. In Pixar's The Good Dinosaur, we see how an asteroid not hits the Earth, but safely flies past the Earth. In this way, the asteroids represent possibility. In Pixar's Finding Nemo, the pebbles are the asteroids. Nemo grabs a little asteroid. Just like the asteroids from A Good Dinosaur, every pebble in Finding Nemo has its own story. One pebble gets Nemo into trouble, the other pebble makes him a hero. It's interesting that in The Big Lebowski, the dude, or the comet, is presented as a balance, as if the comet's journey or direction depends on the moral decisions of the people. In this way, the story of the comet is intertwined with our own behavior. As we can see in Man in Black, we hear a man shouting at his wife.
Damn it! It is poison, isn't it? I swear to God, I would not be surprised if it was the way you skulk around here.
The more the man shouts at his wife, the closer the comet comes to the Earth, as if the shouting of the man attracts the comet from the sky. Which in a way echo the words of Dr. Ed Lu. He talks about a comet hitting the Earth as
a natural process that just happens. And the real point of this discussion, I think, is who's responsible if we're all responsible.
We are all responsible for a comet hitting the Earth, or not. A comet looks like a movie projector, as seen here in David Lynch's Inland Empire. The light source is the comet's core. The beam of light is the comet's tail. It's interesting that the comet from Inland Empire, David Lynch's most recent feature film, sheds light on the asteroid from ERASERHEAD, David Lynch's first feature film. The comet is lighting the asteroid, just as it lights the title from Inland Empire. So you could say that the comet represents the source, which is the movie projector, and the asteroid represents the surface, which is the movie screen. It's not for nothing that in ERASERHEAD we cut to a shot where the whole screen is filled with the rocky surface of the asteroid. In Home Alone, the pans above represent the sky. The sky is reflected into the shiny surface of the earth below. The sky being reflected into the Earth's surface also is shown in Titanic. Things happening at sea are reflections of things in the sky. The camera emphasizes this by moving from the sea upwards to the sky. Here we see the same. And here the camera moves down from the sky to emphasize that the iceberg has to be associated with the sky. So the story is about an iceberg in the sea, but what's suggested is an iceberg from the sky, or a comet. Also, both Jack and Rose are reflections from the sky. They are the two comets, the two icy faces. Rose is a reflection from the sky. Then she sees two searchlights in the sky. The two searchlights are reflected into each of Rose's eyes. As we can also see here in Close Encounters, the two searchlights are reflected in each of the girls' eyes. In Titanic, the large searchlight represents Rose, the small one represents Jack. Yet it's just one searchlight, which shines on both Rose and Jack, implying that Rose and Jack are one searchlight, not two. Rose emphasizes this by uniting herself with Jack. In this way, the two comets represent the love story of Rose and Jack. Two comets which are strongly attracted to each other. Just as the Titanic and the iceberg, Rose and Jack are on collision course. Rose and Jack, the two comets, want to collide or reunite because they feel they are one. Just as David Lynch's movie projector, which represents the comet. Both Rose and Jack are two comets and therefore also two movie projectors. Here, the searchlights represent Rose and Jack, who are in search for each other. But eventually the two projectors happen to be one projector, which is shown here. The small projector, or the small comet, moves into the large projector, or the large comet, and eventually it's the large projector that sees a reflection of itself into a surface. Here we see one searchlight, or one movie projector, connecting both Rose and Jack, which implies that Rose and Jack are not two, but one searchlight. In this way, Rose and Jack see themselves as reflections of each other. Therefore, it's interesting that right at the moment Rose and Jack are kissing, the Titanic hits the iceberg. So, in this way, we could say that the Titanic also is kissing the iceberg. Both the Titanic and the iceberg represent the two comets, which, like Rose and Jack, are so attracted to each other that a kiss is inevitable. Yet, the act of kissing implies two things becoming one. Reflection presupposes duality. In the act of kissing, duality disappears, and so does reflection. So, when we see two people kissing, the act of love is sweet. Yet, when you are on a ship which wants to kiss an iceberg, the act of love becomes
Total agony.
Thanks for watching.